All right, welcome back. We are doing step 6 here of the Easier Ways framework, and I've been tying that in with the Underearners Anonymous 12 steps as well. Something that I didn't do during step 5 was remind you, the viewer, that all of the time that you are spending watching this program or any of the other living library programs, it's all creditable hours to what is now called the karmic margin call time bank. We're going to be rechristening it soon. I think we're going to be calling it the living library time bank. But that brings up something that Randy and I were talking about before I started the recording again, was that all time that you are spending watching this material, if you have Randy's book and you're reading it, all the time that you are spending reading Randy's book, all of that you can redeem for hours that you have provided to the time bank, and they're all creditable. So I'm not going to get into the mechanics or the finances of it for this presentation. That's not what this is for. But for those of you who are starting to explore the convergences between time bank and universal basic income and how to restructure the financial economy, there is no more wasted time. There is no such thing as wasted time. So any moment that you are spending reading Randy's material, watching these conversations, having your own conversations about this, you can have credit. You are able to receive credit for that time. So anyway, I wanted to make that abundantly clear at the top of step 6 here. So I'm going to read the step 6 from the Easier Ways framework, Randy, and then I will turn it back to you for some more insight about how this emerged. So step 6 is: we were entirely ready to listen to wise counsel and seek that still small voice within to guide us in changing our harmful behaviors.
Wow, that's good. I wonder where that one came.
Yeah, who came up with that? Whoever came up with that is brilliant.
Well, so again, this is kind of the whole thing that I'm trying to demonstrate in the book. I've done my best to get out of the way and let wisdom flow through me and be expressed. And this gentleman, Ken Hood, who helped me out, and you mentioned God in the last one, which again is way bigger than understanding and stuff. But believe, what I'm expressing in this book is there's something within us that is way better than the concepts and my assumptions. We spoke about expectations.
Yeah.
Um, there's so many times I read other people's books and it's just like, who am I to be writing a book? I stink as a writer compared to this person. And that's my ego. I'm comparing to other people and such. But I have something within me that wants to be expressed. This has been percolating for a long, long time. I haven't given up on it. Now, again, I could be totally wrong.
Mm.
Whether this is wisdom, this is spirit, this is universe source wanting to express itself through me. Okay. I come to this with that level of humility. It could be totally wrong. It could be totally delusional and such as that. But for me, it works. So that's part of it is it's helped me get past my insecurities, which
Mhm.
frankly, okay. So I talked about expectations and stuff, but a lot of what this moral inventory is about, this harmful, again, reflecting upon our harmful behavior, the impetus, again, the source why we do this stuff is because of insecurities.
Yeah.
The word
Yeah.
fear gets thrown around for myself when I was first going through it. I mean, just again, how I assigned the meaning of the word fear. It's like, man, you're fear driven behavior. It's just like, at first I denied it and I had some bravado about it. It's like, what do you mean? I'm not afraid,
Mhm.
well, maybe you, but not me. And then it was like the pendulum swung around. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, I'm totally fear driven. Every action seems to have the threat of fear running through it and such. And over the course of time, whether again, I've gone through this process 3 times, I've been led through it and had different things revealed. I've had the privilege of leading other men through this process, and it's just basically yeah. There's misunderstandings. We again how we've come to a conclusion about certain things about ourselves. That's what I'm referring to identity. Again, worldview, again, and my relationship with the world, people, places, and things. It's just like, oh, wow. Wow, okay. I could be wrong, you know, but on the other hand, humans do need certainty. If you don't have certainty, I don't know what it is, but if you don't have solid ground, talk about insecurities. I mean, you're just, I can only imagine the most neurotic person of all if you didn't have some level of certainty in who you are and what the world is. As
Yep.
mistaken as an individual could be, that is part of human nature. You have to carry this. So
Mhm.
that's the other thing, talking about having some patience and some kindness towards myself of when I looked at myself. Because again, I was speaking with my wife earlier today. I think it's built into every human being, this self-critical nature, because that is how we mature. That's how we improve.
Mhm.
We see, oh my gosh, I'm doing this behavior and it's not helping me or anyone else. Let's modify it. Let's end it and such. That's a
Yeah.
really good thing. Unfortunately, a lot of times it gets tweaked. It
Mhm.
goes overboard.
Yeah.
And I am the worst of the worst, kind of stuff. When I got the clarity on this and could see consistently in the patterns and had another individual come to me and say, me too.
Mm.
You mean I'm not the only one who has these feelings and has these thoughts? No, Randy, I assure you, you are not the only one. Oh my gosh, because again, these are not conversations that are common. You know,
Mhm.
I my call again. I didn't start this process until 43, and again, it was not by virtue; it was by circumstance. I
Mhm.
even though these 12 steps processes, whatever the malady is and stuff, has helped literally millions of people. There are billions of people on this planet, and as you alluded to in the last video, there is more than one way to go through this.
Yep.
But I'm pretty convinced most people will never have these types of conversations, and therefore will
Mm.
never have these moments where they go, "Oh, you mean I'm not the worst of the worst?" No, I'm not the best of the best. No, you're human,
Yep.
and yeah, all of us, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. That this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Yes, I commit things that again I'd rather maybe stop doing or modify my behavior now that I see better and stuff. And I have this faith, this belief that I could be wrong again. That is built in every human being. Is once you see the truth, now when you know better, you will do better.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents about what this is.
Yeah, what comes up for me as well too is that the saying you're not as good as you think, but you're not as bad as you fear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the Underearners Anonymous step six here is we're entirely ready. I'm sorry, not were were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So that brings up a lot for me personally because I'm a spiritual person. I'm a ministry candidate, and my understanding of God is deviates a little bit from what the fundamental traditional you know lens for God is. And also to the wording about removing defects of character, that sounds like a huge judgment that I feel like you've definitely reframed the wording of because there's a lot of judgment that comes in with judging, first of all, judging yourself and judging others as having a defect of character, especially since some of those defects might just be learning, might just be misunderstandings, might just be lack of a depth of awareness or understanding, which I would not clarify, or I would not classify as a defect. It's to me with I don't know if it was the Course in Miracles or one of those works that said it's either love or it's a call for love. So yeah, so I'm aware of kind of like the narrowness of that language of being completely ready. Is that what it says? Entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of characters, but also entirely ready. What that kind of goes into what we were speaking about in the last step as well, too. Because wow, what does that mean, or what is the lived experience of being entirely ready for something like this? Can you ever be entirely ready for, for what is to come when looking, when really making a fearless inventory of yourself?
Yeah, very good points. So I've studied AA history and such, and Bill Wilson, the author of these and such, when he wrote this and stuff, certainly this was about 75, 80 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, the world was a lot different, and
Hmm.
who influenced it and stuff were very Protestant
Hmm.
kind of stuff. Um, so there's a language here, yeah, that I don't agree with. Hence, that's really the gist of why I wrote this thing. Because yeah, language is important. The meaning we assign to words is critical. And for myself, yeah, character defect. Again, it just implies that I'm defective by nature. And we've
Yeah.
covered this several times in the other ones, and I'm going to do it again right now.
Hmm.
The listener, well, again, you, I, everybody, we're not defective. We're not
Right.
broken.
We're not broken. Yeah.
If nothing else gets through that I can communicate with somebody and such, through whether it's through the work of the book I've just released, these conversations or whatever, you're not broken. But on
Hmm.
the other hand, that doesn't mean to like do spiritual bypassing to ignore these things that we see. And it's like, oh, I'm doing this. That's not cool. you know, I don't want to continue on with that behavior. And I use the word self-destructive to help give some clarity on what this behavior is. Because, I mean, in the context of drinking, you know, there is nothing wrong with enjoying adult beverages and getting a buzz. Even getting good and drunk occasionally and stuff inherently is not bad. Again, the actions you might do when you're drunk, okay, well, that might get that branding on it and stuff too. But again, this is just human behavior. It's been going on since wine was invented. Why do you think people still do it and stuff? It's just the nature. It falls basically, we get into this more here, is humans have this need to avoid discomfort and pursue pleasure. There's an aversion to pain, emotional pain, okay? And there's an attraction to feeling good. Everybody wants to be happy. I am positive whoever's listening to this right now and stuff, you would rather be happy than suffer,
Yeah.
despite you might have a tendency to wallow in self-pity. I'm sorry if that touched a nerve and stuff like that. But again, all humans have this into them. Psychology 101 stuff, Buddhism gets into it and all this kind of stuff. So again,
Hmm.
what have we been doing? We've been getting our psychological needs met throughout all this stuff, and we're seeing clarity on it. So again, in the context of the steps, it's the solution is God. Having conscious contact with God, of a spiritual awakening. This is the solution here, which I'm not disagreeing at all. I'm just trying to put it into a language that may allow somebody to have it look at it through fresh eyes. And again, maybe
Yeah.
with using different words, they see different meaning. And again, they may have an epiphany. They may be very well versed with all this stuff, but because
Hmm.
there's a different language involved in going through the filter of Randy, that there is never saw it that way before, and it affects them in a way that, lack of a better word, is positive. So again, the entire willing thing is just like I've become teachable. Lots and
Hmm.
lots of words I've just used here and stuff. Yeah, okay. I realize I could be wrong. I was,
Yeah.
again, I'm a recovering know-it-all, my pride. I never like to admit I was wrong. Okay. Maybe in a moment of trying to, I don't know, manipulate another individual, I might say those words, but deep down in my core, mm-mm, mm-mm, I'm certain. Okay. And again, I, to various degrees, I think that's with every individual. So to
Hmm.
come to the point of like, well, yeah, I'm God changed everything in me that that's blocking my way of being useful to you. That's kind of like the jargon in the big book and stuff where which again, that's kind of the gist of all this stuff. Again, it's not learning, it's unlearning those
Yeah.
again, the paradigms and the behavior patterns that just become normal for us. We're not necessarily learning new ways, we're unlearning the ways that we identify as being harmful to ourselves and or others.
Hmm.
That's it. And it's like, okay, i'm willing I'm willing now to all of a sudden look in the mirror instead of looking away. And it's a lifetime process. You see things that'll make you, again, much like 4 and 5 made you kind of go ow. um it's not flattering because it's our ego. Again, egoic thing is we have a inner narrative. We have this, again, is what they call a character. It is not a character defect. Again, this is
Hmm.
not defective. This is human behavior. So again, talking about how once upon a time in this world and stuff, yeah, things that society now could find as socially acceptable, 80 years ago was not socially acceptable.
Hmm.
Kind
Yep.
of stuff. And that brings me hope that I think humanity is on a course for us to be more loving and kind towards ourselves and towards others. There
Hmm.
might be a point in time, as when I said these types of vulnerability, these moments of vulnerability, my desire is it for, because it's been so transformative for myself and I've seen it in countless others, could be more common. Maybe
Hmm.
in your children's generation, Mike. Maybe it might wind up
Hmm.
being something where, yeah, mental health is considered something that is important to pay attention to, as
Yep.
important, or if not more important than physical health. And people do what's, in the best of their understanding, congruent with being mentally healthy. Easy for me.
Yeah, I kind of see the mental health aspect as kind of like the practical side of spirituality. When when we were talking earlier about you're not broken, and inherently we're not broken, and this suggestion that we are removing the defects of our character, and that being ready for that. I think for me, what that means is being ready to look at the honest truth about the trauma. I'm reminded a lot of the correlations between both financial trauma and religious trauma about feeling not worthy, original sin. We're all born sinners, therefore we need a savior. And that really feeds into the dynamics that I tend to look at, which is called culture or tribalism, where when someone is observed to be completely in that shame state, feeling broken, feeling like they're not worthy, feeling like they're irredeemable sinners. There's that stage 5, that the mantra of stage 5 is all life sucks. And then, as you're moving up and you get you observe the world and you start to see your own you start to hold your intellectual capacity above your heart space. Then it becomes my life sucks. And then the next one up is more of the egoic narcissistic mantra, which is I'm great, everybody else sucks. So then there's those power dynamics that we start to see play out. Then you start to find a tribe where you feel safe, and where you feel like you're getting the best out of yourself. Then stage 4 is, we are great. But what that does is it sets up competition with other tribes. And then there's stage 5, which is all life is great, where we start to see all of the stages and all of, wherever you're at, as being, if not whole, the potential for wholeness. So and seeing the truth or understanding the truth that it's either love or a call for love. And yeah, that's what comes up for me when I reflect on this notion of being ready for God to remove defects of character. What that means to me is that we were never defective or broken to begin with. This was a this was a unique story to come back into awareness, come back into community, come back into relationship. So yeah, so that's why when I hear you often say you're not broken, and I'm thinking, yeah, we never were broken. So that's what I hear you say very often, Randy, and I think it's something that's worth repeating over and over again, that you're not broken.
Yeah. So again, folks, if you're getting tired of us saying this, well, heck, you know what? I'm going to throw a little gas on the fire. So this, again, it's 12 steps. We're at 6 right now. We're right in the middle of it. This is actually in the big book. There's only a paragraph on this, on
Hmm.
step 6, and there's a paragraph on step 7. This is really preparing an individual to get into action and be accountable. Again, step 9 is making amends, and that's really complicated. We'll get really deep into that one. But how this
Hmm.
talks about financial trauma is like getting ready, prepared yourself psychologically, emotionally, and stuff to do physical things that
Hmm.
you've been avoiding. Again, the paradox of easier ways is like this book I've put together is, guess what?
Hmm.
Easier ways is doing the hard stuff you've been avoiding. You know,
Hmm.
you get much like a person who wants to lose weight and become healthier. You know what the simple truth is? Eat better food and move, get exercise, and do that consistently. There you go. Oh, well, simple, not easy. That's why there's a multi-billion-dollar industry, for weight loss and such.
Hmm.
Same type of thing here. You inherently know what you need to do. Okay, in regards to, say, financial trauma and stuff. I know I need to declare bankruptcy, but pride tells me I shouldn't. There's some stigma with
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
I need to talk to my credit card company and make arrangements, maybe restructure my payments, whatever. I need to save. I need to stop spending money, purely to satisfy an emotional need and stuff. I need to stop spending money to impress people that, I want to impress, kind of stuff. So, whatever it may be that you're using money to get your inner psychological needs met, um, or perhaps maybe again somehow it's been denying them, which is where it kind of strays a little bit from Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff. But again, this whole thing is we've been getting into our inner needs, the need to feel safe. Okay, the need to break boredom and stuff. We need a life of variety and type. Again, is what where are these things defects? Okay, the need to be appreciated. Okay, so there again, yeah, we need some certainty, we need some variety and stuff, but we need a little bit of notoriety. We need the people that we look up to give us every now and then encouragement. Where is
Hmm.
this defective and stuff? And then we need to be able to give and receive love freely. Okay,
Yeah.
which again, where is this not healthy human behavior? Well, again, these are human needs. Again, we're learning how to do this in ways that are healthier. The whole, progress, not perfection. We don't proclaim to be saints, kind of thing with this, because at first glance, it's like, oh my gosh, now all of a sudden I'm always supposed to be a good person. Again, I can see the error of my ways, and again, I went overboard and stuff. I'm so selfish in everything I do and stuff. I have to be a more giving and loving person. I need to be of service and stuff, and just, I guess, my tendencies to go overboard with things. Eventually, it no longer served me, and I was
Hmm.
overextending myself. I found out the hard way that I can't care about somebody's life more than they care about it.
Hmm.
That's a very healthy type of relationship when you're with someone and they ask, "Can you help me?" Okay, all right. And next thing you know, it's like, again, it was a codependent situation, which this is another thing. Again, more was revealed. I was dealing with alcoholism, and somehow life took me into codependency.
Yeah.
Would have never seen it otherwise. So again, it just all came from being willing to change. It's like, yeah, I see this. Okay, are you willing now to do things? You've done some really hard stuff. Here's evidence you can do hard things. Again, you've integrated stuff that you have repressed, denied, and distorted in your mind, and you share them with another individual. Things that you never even wanted to think of, let alone speak about, is have been shared openly with another person. That is huge. Okay, very courageous. Anyone who ever does that, and it's just like, so if you've done one thing that's amazing, and and as you move forward, you can realize that you have this potential. You have a resourcefulness, you have a resiliency upon you, within you. And again, call it wisdom, call it God, higher consciousness, however you're interpreting it. It's a means where again, myself, I look at it as having a fresh start. So your whole life there again has been consistent evidence of doing things that are not in your best interest. Um, is the polite way to
Mm.
put it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there's been some genuine harms done in this world. There's no two ways about this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll just go to the extreme. Say somebody was a murderer. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
rapist, somebody who tortured children. About the most terrible thing I can think of a human is doing. There is the possibility for a person to not again spiritually bypass this to be accountable for it. We'll get more detail future episodes, but
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to lean in here and stuff, there is a self-forgiveness
Yeah.
that is amazing, and this is coming into what you were speaking into earlier and stuff, whether it is coming from love or a cry from love.
Mm-hmm.
When you just understand that really comes down to it and stuff, we all, as much as we need air to breathe, we need love. And if we have not gotten that, we go about and getting it the best way we know how, which sometimes from somebody looking outside in, how are you talking about love and somebody in murdering another individual? Well, it's not simple. It's not cut and dry. There is a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it is very, very personal and involved with it. I'm not going to try to explain this right now here, but this is a process of forgiveness. Are you willing to be forgiven? I'll say it again. You
Mm-hmm.
see this, it's like, oh my God, I can see now the harms, my part in all these harms. Yeah. Are you willing now to move forward and
Mm-hmm.
and do something that again is hopefully will cause a closure resolution to this, if for no one else, yourself, because again
Mm-hmm.
we'll get into it more, that and how this is leading up to, it's ramping up. There are certainly some situations where amends are not appropriate. Okay,
Yeah.
and there
Yeah.
certainly are many times when you make amends and stuff where, well, was speaking for myself, people go, I had borrowed money with no intent of ever paying it back. Okay,
Mm.
there's a word for that. It's called stealing. And I did this with
Mm-hmm.
people that trusted me enough. There was a close enough relationship that this could happen. Okay, I
Mm.
betrayed some of my closest friends and family members. Okay, I stole from people. Okay,
Mm.
did it again right to their face. Lied and betrayed the relationship and stuff. So there was more than one person. It's like, oh my gosh, Randy, because at first, oh, I'm glad you're getting your shit together. That's really cool. I mean, again, I'm glad. I I thought you had it in you and stuff. I'm glad, again. I'm glad you're doing this stuff. And then again, what's said is said and stuff. And it's like, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I forgave you a long time, dude. Again, I know you were just doing your stuff, but don't ever think we're going to be friends again. Do not think
Mm.
I trust you just because I've forgiven you. And the reality of this, again, these are, if you could, as the viewer can imagine in their mind, of betrayed relationships and such. People that I never wanted to see again because of the embarrassment I was carrying, the shame I was carrying, to look me
Mm-hmm.
in the eye and have that honesty with it. It's like, I forgive you, but I'm sorry, we'll never be friends again. That reality to things made the word forgiveness so much more impactful than sitting in a church and talking about how God forgives you and this type of stuff, or reading a book of, again, Course in Miracles. The whole thing, it's just of it is forgiveness. I'm not going into trying to talk about Course in Miracles right now, but the gist of all this is forgiveness.
Mhm.
And we could talk about this for the rest of the afternoon. And until a
Mhm.
person has direct personal experience of this type of forgiveness I'm trying to describe, you really don't know how liberating it is. So this, again, the fresh start is, it's like, okay, everything externally can be exactly the same as it is when you get in the context of financially. Yeah, my bank account's overdrawn. I got bills all over my table and stuff, right, too. And I just lost my job. Yeah, that's financial trauma. I don't know what I'm going to
Yeah.
do. Things don't change and stuff. I'm going to be living outside, and my kids are going to be living outside, and
Mhm.
all that intense anxiety going on can still be present with you. But
Mhm.
now there's not a millstone around your neck. Um, and again, it's deeply personal. It's unique to every individual. But this is slowly opening up a new door to walk through, and how you see yourself and how you see your relationship with life, and everything. Well, again, everything. There is a peace, that a calming of the mind, those emotions not being as intense. There's an equanimity, which is the ability to see things in a more objective way.
Mhm.
Is what
Mhm.
we've been speaking about. You're not broken. Oh, what are you talking about? You don't know me. I'm the worst of the worst. No, you're really not. No, 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 no. Well, again, going through this kind of stuff, again, having the horizontal relationship, talking with another person, and spending time alone. This also is suggested that you contemplate this. Is there anything else that needs to be considered? It's basically just kind of floating in this ocean of truth, of reality, and again, just allowing it to wash all over you. And there's just, I've never ever met, and when I say I've been fortunate enough to walk beside people going through this process, it's a double digit
Mhm.
number. I've seen this with people, and in which, again, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a drop in the bucket. But consistently, every person who has gone through this process has a lightness at the end of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And I'm getting goosebumps right now. I wish everyone else can have a sense of what this self forgiveness is. That is, again, it transcends anything that I've ever heard about in church. I think most people in church, again, they haven't gone through this vulnerability and stuff.
Mhm.
Really, it's way too conceptual. It's not personal enough to be life changing. And,
Mhm.
and again, this is the kind of, again, it's ramping up. It's still all new, but this
Mhm.
love that I will say is God's love. Again, the soul that's, again, that's as close as my heartbeat. That same energy that causes synapse in the head, cuts to heal if they're not, alone, and stuff. Again, all the kinds of stuff that biology, science, and stuff can explain. It's not woo woo kind of stuff. The magnificent of a human body, that
Mhm.
you don't have to consciously, you don't have to think about digesting your food. Your body just
Mhm.
does this. So that
Mhm.
same energy, I feel, follows in God. God, it's not theology. It's way bigger than a spiritual concept. But it is, again, something as deeply personal as a thought. So I know I kind of went on a rambling there and stuff. And frankly, it's a demonstration. I can't put to words to something that I know is as certain as the ground I walk on,
Mhm.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It's
Yeah.
really beyond my mental capabilities. But I am, for me, I don't expect anyone else to agree with me. But for me, it is rock solid. And again,
Mhm.
and this began doing So again, the door opening up, step 6, this willingness. Am I willing to let God do his thing and remove everything from me? Yes, I am. It's the only, I can't do it on my own power and such, but that does not mean it's been a passive life over the last 19 years. There's been a lot of hard stuff that it's things I've had to face that I wanted to avoid. Oh gosh, there's another afternoon of stories I could tell and stuff. There's a lot of life still happens that sucks,
Mhm.
but it
Yeah.
sucks less by doing this. And I'll step off the soapbox right now.
No, no. First of all, Randy, I want to thank you, and I want to reflect back to you the bravery and the courage it took for you to say what you had just said, especially with especially with the borrowing of money and not intending to give it back, and to in confronting and reconnecting with those people. What my hope and my prayer is today as well is that people can look up to and can and see you as a role model for that kind of courage, because the truth is, and this is what's very hard to confront within ourselves and to forgive about society, is when you're looking at ideologies like late stage capitalism and how the system rewards people for not being completely honest, for taking advantage of people. um i I think there are a lot of people who might not admit it, but can really step up by watching your role modeling this courage here today, Randy. So I want to make a mention of that. And I also want to hold space as well too for forgiveness, because we were born in a system that rewards people for exploiting, for taking advantage of others, even for violating trust. And considering the political environment as well, I think this is potentially a great catalyst for opening the space up for deeper forgiveness. So as far as recovering from financial trauma, as well as religious trauma, because we see this a lot in churches as well too, where there's a lot of projection and a lot of sin, quote unquote sin, being projected onto people. I think you're right about being personal, personable, being this experience, the one-on-one conversations, the small group conversations. It's much more personal than the performance aspect of church or sales or anything like that, where there is a reward for transaction. But I really feel that your demonstration, your role modeling of these 12 steps, and for your bravery as well too. My prayer is that others will dip their toe in and take the next step in experiencing that kind of a courage, because it's not easy. And I completely commend you, and you know send you the highest praises and the highest gratitude for what you've demonstrated here today. I mean, through our entire process, of course, the entire relationship, of course, but this was there was something very, very special and very unique about this one right here. So thank you. Oh, and you are on mute. Definitely want to hear what you have to say.
We have a house full of dogs, and the dogs just started biking. Oops. I don't know if was all the dogs howling recorded. I tried to mute it.
I can't hear them.
Okay, why I'm muted here and stuff. There was just happened to be 3 adult dogs and a bunch of puppies howling behind me now for the last minute or so. So anyway, thank you, Mike. And certainly you are someone that I respect and admire and want to have a little bit more of Mike in my life as well too. And this isn't just meant to be an award ceremony kind of stuff. But as you say, is maybe people can kind of see through these conversations that um, fallible people, humans,
Hmm.
we're all, and stuff, can do things that, well, I don't know, seems uncommon, but really when you start doing it, just like anything, I've been using health for a while, again, yeah, it might be weird at first to go running every morning. If you want to improve your health. Next thing you know,
Hmm.
after, I don't know, few months, it's common. It's no big deal. What are you talking, Randy? How do you do this? And stuff. I don't know. Just do it, and stuff. I kind of like it as well. But I didn't in the beginning. Well, again, what we're doing right here and stuff, I did not come into this overnight. I did not come into it easily. It's been a long, drawn out process. But on the spirit of God, there was people who were patient and kind with me when I could not be patient and kind with myself. That
Yep.
recognized, um, I was making this assumption, but using that language of humanness, they recognized
Hmm.
that there was something with me that had been with them that someone else had helped them address, again, in their own
Hmm.
unique ways. And yeah, we're better together. And when you're talking about born into a society, the environment I was born into, again, is we don't do this kind of stuff. We should be strong enough. We're capable. Back to what I was talking about expectations before the commonality. I, I should not have to ask for help in matters. Okay. That is just, again, that is not a man in my viewpoint. I was not raised to say I'm scared. You know, but after a while, when you start, again, being open and vulnerable with other people, and as
Yep.
you've been with me, allowing me to feel safe through this stuff, um, again, it's just kind of, if you're watching this and go, wow, how did these guys do this and stuff? Well, it's because I've done it for years and years and years.
Yep.
Um, and I kind of like it because I've been the lonely man in a crowded room. When you talk about performative, I
Hmm.
have not been an actor like you have, Mike, but I've been an actor. I
Hmm.
have been the guy who would make an assessment of what are people expecting right now and how do I behave? How do I speak for them to like me?
Hmm.
Because again,
Hmm.
insecurities. If I act like myself, there's no way anybody's gonna like me. I don't like me. So, oh,
Hmm.
guess what? Yeah, people will like you. I don't, again, if you hate yourself, and again, you've got a long list of reasons for that. Um, this is the process of you being able to look at it a lot more objectively and someone going, oh, you hate yourself for that? Well, I understand why. I did the same thing myself too, but trust me, if you continue along with this process, there will be a point, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but there's a point that you'll be able to care about yourself as much as I care about you as a human. I see you as a human being. I love you. I care about you. I want the best for you. And it's not so much positive thinking. It's just really the elimination of the negative. Again, the unlearning.
Yep.
I don't expect, I've never once told people of the whole, like, hey, but this, look at the good thing that happened here, stuff. One, I think it's cruel to try to speak that way, but also because when people have done to me, I felt. But on the other hand, not dwelling on the, in lack of a better word, the negative. So
Yep.
again, we're not talking about toxic positively around here. We're not about fake it till you make it. But on the other hand, not focusing all your energy, all your attention towards these things that they only serve a purpose to as a course correction. Okay,
Yep.
if I don't know, if you were drowning in water instinctively and stuff, you're going to probably try to grab onto a log and float for a while, whatever you can, a lifeline and such. Um, you wouldn't continually go, oh, I'm going to drown him. Why even try kind of stuff? As easy as that is for somebody to do it, instinctively, when it came to actual life and death kind of stuff, we would kick in what I've been calling wisdom. Wisdom would override all that ego of it should be differently. And no, I'm going to do what's needed, fight or flight, freeze or fawn, whatever, to survive. Which
Hmm.
again, not a character defect, not a
Hmm.
character defect. You're not broken if you've done these types of things. Um, yeah, that's with us, but we are in a society where no, no, it's not supposed to be happening. And there, my hope is that for generations to come, that people stopped trying to be whatever the propaganda, the media and the stuff, society has said that big boys don't cry. You know,
Right.
um, for most men, success is financial. Again, there's a lot of
Hmm.
people, well, no, success is being a good dad or whatever that kind of stuff. But they'll say, and yes, being a good dad is being able to provide for my kids in every way they need and such. Like there is a financial element
Hmm.
with success, and if you're not success financially, more than just existence, you don't have the money in the bank if you haven't acquired stuff that you want to acquire, you're not successful and you're less than, and stuff. And that's not the case. And for women, frankly, there's gray areas for both of this. They bleed, or I should say, they bleed into each other. But for women, it's typically its appearance. You know,
Mm.
pretty. You want to be a pretty girl. That's how you're going to find the successful man. You'll never
Mm.
have your Prince Charming. You're never gonna, the stereotype of the Jewish mother that wants to fix her daughter up with a doctor or a lawyer and type of stuff.
Hmm.
There's some truth in all humor here. Yes, it's a stereotype, and I hope it doesn't come off demeaning to anyone and stuff like that. But my point is that it's been just ingrained with us perpetually since we were children, always, that if you're going to be successful in life, you've done well financially. And that's
Yep.
not the case.
Yep.
For America, come on, we're an anomaly. Most of the world, no. Their definition of success is the things that money can't buy.
Yep.
And that's where, again, if you've met somebody who's traveled the world and seen many, many different societies and stuff, they start understanding that what is normal here for America is
Hmm.
not normal for billions, the B, of other people in this world. Okay.
Yeah. One of the things I'm learning is the nation of Bhutan, they don't even have a gross domestic product. They have a gross national happiness. And that's I'd like to bring a little bit of that mentality here into our country.
Well, and I don't think, yeah, you can't change our entire society, but we can change our self image, our worldview with others, and then do what we're doing instead of spending time with people that also have this as our priorities. Is connection, is vulnerability, authenticity, and such. In my book, it's my reframing of steps 10, 11, and 12, but 10 is self-awareness, 12 is spiritual, or 10 is self-awareness, 11 is spirituality, and 12 is service. So
Mm.
having those in whatever percentage of your life, but having some intentional part of your life is of these areas that you're just like, no, I don't need to be self-conscious, but I just need to be aware that right now I I not am a scared person, but I'm feeling afraid right now. Spirituality does not necessarily mean a doctrine or dogma or deity and such. It's being aware there is something bigger than my consciousness. And it goes way deep. We'll get into more on that kind of stuff. But if service, again, does not necessarily mean you have to devote your life to working for a nonprofit or, I don't know, whatever your definition of service is. Um, it's really kind of just, I don't know. For myself, I'll say it is I want to pay it forward. All this stuff that I've been talking about here, it was given freely to me by people. And this again, I call it under the category of love. People loved me when I couldn't love myself. I think
Mm.
God was loving me through these individuals. And my intention, my purpose of my life is trying to be a conduit for this love that's beyond my comprehension. So, folks, I know I kind of stray and stuff like that, but this again, step 6 is right in the middle. This is kind of the pivot point of this. You
Mhm.
go through all this kind of stuff and you have your epiphanies, you have your wow moments, and then you're like, okay, I know better. I'm going to do better. And again, it's in the beginning, you have to be very intentional. Again, using the running method, it's like, okay, if I'm going to run every morning, I got to set my alarm and stuff. Maybe I got to set my running shoes right at the foot of my bed and stuff. You got to be very intentional, and if you miss a day, again, I highly encourage you to be very compassionate and kind towards yourself. Don't beat yourself up and say, I'll never be a runner. But yeah, this here is beginning the process that I would call transformation, the change from the inside out. And the next thing you know, yeah, the stuff that used to bother you a whole lot about you, about others, how life should be, and stuff, it doesn't carry the same level of importance as it once does.
Yep. Yep.
So again, hey, I'm going to step off the soapbox again.
Yeah, we're gonna wind this one down, but that's that's great, Randy. And to be able to change the habits, to be able to you know, to take the small steps so that you can set your alarm every day and and set your shoes out or whatnot. I my challenge to the listener at the moment would be as you're listening to these recordings, make notes about, where do you tune in? Where do you check out emotionally or mentally? Just what's your experience? What resonates, what doesn't work? And that can be the beginning as well too. That's kind of the gateway because my intention is that the presence of you listening or whoever is listening to this is that we can change the infrastructure and we can heal financial trauma, and also heal the system where financial trauma is prevalent just by being present, that we can heal that just by being present to each other. And I'm starting to figure out how to put the metrics around that. But I think that's where it begins is just doing a check-in with yourself while you're watching these. You know, what resonates, what doesn't. Are you willing to talk about what resonates and what doesn't resonate and why? And we can get past this habit of people pleasing and really, really talk about what is meaningful and real for you. So that would be my challenge at the end of this conversation, and we'll be back again for step 7. Randy, any final thoughts or final requests or anything that you would like to wrap this one up with?
Well, I've been blowing a lot of air out of my mouth for a while here, but yeah, again, the spirit of the step is willingness. Okay.
Yeah.
Becoming entirely willing. So likely you have not gotten to this point in the process of the 12 steps. So it's a different willing. Might just be
Hmm.
willing to begin. But
Hmm.
is there a willingness? Is there a sincere desire to have things different? When I was
Hmm.
suicidal, and such, one of the epiphanies was there is I didn't want to die. I just wanted to stop living this way. Now, I
Yeah.
wanted to stop the suffering so bad that death was a consideration because I tried
Hmm.
so many different ways that what I knew I possibly could do to change this, and none of it was working.
Hmm.
So again, was I willing to try something outside of what I considered as possible? You know, and that's kind of the Course in Miracles defines miracles is a change of understanding, a change of perception. So you
Hmm.
go, again, we're talking a lot about stuff that goes between our ears. We'll get into it much more in 9, 10, 11, and 12. But, there has been definite actions done here. We cannot think our way into a new way of living. We got to live our way into a new thinking. So are you willing to do some stuff that you've been avoiding
Yeah.
for the reason of no longer having to live the way you have been, that's proven to no longer work for you.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, thank you, Randy, and we will be back in a couple of weeks to do the next step.
Until then, thank you for tuning in.